Let's begin with something really serious. There are 40 million fantasy football league participants out there right now. How good a GM are you?
I mean, you can talk about things all you want to, but it takes championships to back it up. And I have quite a few, Frank, Mr. Kuzia. I've got a few. I've got a bunch of leagues, but it's one of my favorite outlets. I love to do it. I love to play, and I love to trade. Trading is where the real fun is at.
Do you ever get any tips from John Mozeliak about how to be a sports executive?
Well, it's tough. We have talked about this a little bit, but the difference in fantasy football GM and baseball GM is that they sort of have to have like the long approach. What am I looking for here? They have to think like 5-10 years down the road. Whereas in fantasy football, you only need a player specifically for 10 to 12 weeks. Usually after you make a trade, it's 13, 14-week season with a couple of weeks of playoffs. So it's very short term, whereas the GMs in real baseball are much more long term. So it's a different game completely.
Over 200 million people are on Twitter. You're one of them. And this weekend, you had to take a Cincinnati Reds fan to task.
Well, I mean, it's interesting because most people on Twitter are nice and wonderful people to engage with. Some are not, and some are out there just trolling people. But this guy particularly came at me with an attitude, and that's okay. But he didn't make any sense because he's a Reds fan and he was trying to troll me for being a Cardinals player, not being in the playoffs, and talking about how we didn't have success this year when we actually made the playoffs. We've actually won World Series in that guy's lifetime. We've actually, had lots of success in the postseason in the most, in the recent years. I mean, this didn't even make sense. So I was just making sure he was aware that he wasn't making any sense and that he needed to kind of come about himself a little bit.
Last year, the big number for you was 17. Your 17th victory on the day the Cardinals won their 17th game in a row. This year, could it be 16, as in 16 more wins to 200? Do you think about it?
Well, speaking of 17, I'm sitting across the room right now from a really, really pretty lady who was about to celebrate our 17th year anniversary together. So 17 is a special year for us right now, Kuzi. But yeah, I mean, we got to set the bar at least 16 next year. Hopefully we're looking at 20 plus. That's the goal.
Michael Wilbon, who is an eternal Cubs fan, said on national television recently that you are, quote, a slam dunk for the Hall of Fame. I don't know if you've heard that, but what's your reaction to that?
I like him. He seems like a smart guy, man. He seems like a really bright person. I need to tune in to more of his broadcast because I might be missing out on somebody who's clearly a genius and a mind of his, one of a kind for his job place. Not to saying that all media is not really smart, but he seems like he might be the smartest.
All right, let's talk about the manager situation. How did you hear of the news of Mike Shildt, and what was your reaction?
I heard Mo called me and told me he was making a change, and you have to respect the decisions made and why they're being made, and the best thing for the organization was what was in mind. So Shilt's a friend of mine. I thought he did a pretty good job, honestly. He managed us, turned us from being the worst defensive baseball team in all of baseball, and he took that on as a priority when he kind of took over after another great friend of mine, Mike Matheny, who also did a great job. But managing in baseball is a tough business. There is, you could be everybody's favorite person in the whole town when you win one year, but then the next year when you lose a few games, you're the least favorite guy in the whole town. That's why I don't want to ever get into coaching, honestly, Kuzi, because I feel like people generally like me in St. Louis, and I don't want to give people a reason to go to Grace Meat and 3 for dinner and cuss out the pitching coach or whatever coach I might be. So I like people liking me, and it seems like being a manager or a coach is a thankless job because you really can't do right. I mean, you're never going to make everyone happy, and it's a tough job, but comes with the business. A lot of people have been waiting their whole lives to be in that position. I thought Shildt did a great job. I think he's going to get another opportunity somewhere, I'm sure. But I think Oliver Marmol is going to also do a great job and be the right guy for this organization.
Did John Mozeliak get your take on Ali before he made the hire?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about Ollie and his skill set and what he brought to the table. And, he was able to learn from Shildt for a long time. He was able to be in a lot of different roles, first base coach and managing in the minor leagues, which is a big part of understanding. I think manager is a really good word for that job. It's not just managing what's on the field. It's also managing all those unique individuals inside a clubhouse and away from the field, getting everybody to play at the best of their abilities and be ready to go out and perform. That's a big part of being a manager. And I think Ollie's going to do a great job of that.
So you never want to come out of a game. When he comes out, he'll be 10 inches smaller and 5 years younger. Do you have more leverage now?
Well, I mean, since Matheny, my manager's been shorter, and now Shildt was a little bit older, but not many people are looking down on me. I'm a pretty big fella. I usually have the leverage on somebody, but the manager is still the manager. Whether I like it or not, he's still gonna have the power to take that ball out of my hand sometimes. And but you know what? As a pitcher, everybody needs to know that you want the pitcher on the mound that still wants to be in the game. You want the guy on the mound who wants the ball in those big situations. And so if you see me, barking at a manager for taking me out, it's because I still want to be out there and I'm still trying to help this team win. If you got a guy who's out there who wants to come out, like, please get me out of this game, he's not a competitor. You don't want him out there in the first place. So Ollie's going to be able to manage that. He knows that I'm going to be, snap back at him a few times, but we have a great relationship and we'll do it respectfully.
Give me the one thing that jumps out at you about Ollie.
Well, he gets along with a lot of different people. So he's a fluent in Spanish, obviously. He's Dominican Republic, family raised, and so he gets along with that and can communicate really well with both sides, with the English-speaking guys and the Spanish-speaking guys, which is that's a big thing in our game, especially with, 35 or 40% of players now are Spanish-speaking players. But solid believer, Christian guy who he and I relate on and off the field in a really strong way. So there's going to be a lot of people that really relate to Oliver well. He communicates well.
Let's talk about your spectacular season. First in complete games, second in wins, third in innings. I know you've had better individual seasons, but in terms of satisfaction, was this at the top?
And I just would like to point out, if I'd had my last start instead of starting the wild card game, I'm right there, either first or for sure second in innings. So not that matters. I'm just pointing that out. But it was a fun year for me. I was glad to be able to go out there healthy and perform without having to worry about things hurting and just go out and try to make pitches. And when I can just go out and worry about making pitches instead of whether my arm's going to fall off or not, then I can usually do pretty good.
In 2016 and 17, when you had those higher ERA seasons and you were physically compromised, and smart Alex sportscasters were saying, well, Adam Wainwright's probably done because of his age, didn't you just want to lash out and say, hey, this is not the real me, I'm not healthy?
Well, I mean, they were, in my mind, I started to go that way too. It's not exactly like they were wrong. The way I was pitching, I needed to be done. My arm was hurt and I was not able to go out there and compete at the level that everybody was used to seeing me compete at. I was not able to go out and compete at the level that I'm used to be able to compete at. And when you do that, when you set expectations really high and then you don't meet them, then it lets everybody down even more than if you just go out there and pitch bad with no expectations. So I think that, they were right. I mean, I was hurt and I wasn't pitching well, and I, either needed to get better real quick or I needed to retire. And that's where I was at. And luckily I was able to kind of turn the corner and get healthy and go out and pitch healthy again and pitch good again.
You and Yadi need 20 starts together to break the all-time record set by Mickey Lolich and Bill Freehan. Where do you think that record will sit with you in terms of all the things you've accomplished?
Man, right at the top. I think when you think about baseball, it's been played for so long and so many players have played it. so many legends of the game have played it. If you can get any kind of all-time record right now in today's game, that's a pretty big deal. So I'm just, blessed to be able to throw as many games as I have, pitch as many games as I have to Yadi here. But if we can break that record, that's something we can always, always, always talk about, and something we'll always have, because I'll be honest, I don't think anybody ever is going to break that record again. So that's a cool record to get. It would be a special thing to be, sort of known as the all-time battery in any sport ever. So it would be crazy.
So it's been an incredible marriage with you two, but like in all great marriages, there's conflicts. Give me one story where you got on him or he got on you, or what do you razz each other about?
I don't know if it's getting on him, but he knows how to communicate well with me. He's been with me for so long. I'll tell you this one time, 2019, I believe it was. I was kind of grinding through a game where we were just, I didn't have my best stuff, but we were finding a way. It was like the 5th or the 6th inning, and it had runners on 2nd and 3rd with 1 out, and Yadi starts to come out and walk out to see me, and usually it's kind of like, all right, hey, what are we going to go right here? Like, let's focus on getting this ball down the zone, or hey, you're flying open, or hey, this guy's leaning out over the plate on you. Let's get one inside on him. We're talking about game plan or stuff, but he knew that my stuff was what it was that day. It wasn't going to get better. It was more like kind of trying to free me up mentally and kind of get me into the right headspace. And he and I had been trying to make a trade in fantasy football for a few weeks. So he comes out to the mound and he says, "Hey, what do you think about trading me Tyreek Hills?" And it would kind of caught me off guard. And I was like, "No, I'm not trading you Tyreek Hill. No, it's not going to happen. He's on my team." And he goes, "Oh, okay, let's get this guy right here." And he turned around and walked back to the catcher's plate. And when he got back to home plate, he put down the signs. We got the first guy to strike out. The next guy popped up to the infield. We got out of the inning. And it was just so cool because my mind was starting to kind of wander, and I was starting to, kind of worry about things or whatever. And he just put me right at ease, and he kind of got me back on the offensive when I was able to go out there and attack after that, because I was like, no, I'm not trading Tyreek Hill. And he kind of got a little, fire lit under me, which is the way to get me, was to offer me a bad trade in fantasy football. So that was one thing that worked pretty good.
That's classic. So on this DH issue, we know about your hitting prowess. You hit 262 one season. You have 10 career home runs, but it looks like it's coming. But are you going to try to petition union reps to stop this thing, because we know you want to hit?
No, but I'm going to work extra hard this offseason to see if Shildt, or Olive, see if Oliver Marmol will put me in to hit third, or to play shortstop or something, play in a big position, or a key hitting role, or take a big pinch hit at bat. But you know what? I am going to stay ready, because there's times where I've worked on bunting my whole career. And sometimes you get into a situation late in a game where a bunt is the right play. But these guys, the position players, they don't work on bunting a whole lot. Like the pitchers work on it every day. If you ever want to get a bunt down in a big situation, put a pitcher in, don't put a position player in. They don't work on those kinds of things. So I'll stay ready. And I got to steal a base too, Kuzi. That's my big thing this coming up. I got to steal a base. I've never had a stolen base in my whole career. And this year I had an attempt. I stole, and the batter fouled the ball off. So I would have had it though. The pitcher wasn't paying attention. It would have been an easy one. But that stolen base is still one I got to get. You never know though. The union and the Major League Baseball, it's not exactly like they come together on too many things. So we'll see. Everybody wants the DH, the universal DH apparently. So we'll see how it goes.
You've done a great job at mentoring young pitchers. I'm curious of your take on Alex Reyes. Are you at all concerned that he could be scarred from this, because some relievers don't come back? And if you were in charge, would you make Alex Reyes a starter or a reliever moving forward?
Good question. So no, I think he just needs to change his arm swing a little bit on his mechanics. I think there's a very easy mechanical adjustment that he needs to make. Like he was throwing the first half of the season, he kind of got away from that the second half of the season. You saw the results. But I'll tell you, I think long term, I think he would be an amazing starter. I really do. I've seen him do it. Now, whether he can stay healthy, that's the question mark. But I'd like to see him get a chance to go out and start every fifth day, because he's got special stuff. He's got a special mentality. And we've seen him at his best. You know, unfortunately, he didn't end so great, but we've seen him at his best. He was an all-star player, and that's the kind of talent he has. That was no fluke. He can make the all-star team every single year if he stays healthy.
Broadcasting is definitely in your future. You're really good at this. What do you think the game plan is going to be? I know you have the children and your beautiful wife. Can you picture yourself traveling to Pittsburgh, or do you think you're a one-day-a-week broadcaster?
Oh, I think I'm a pick your own schedule kind of broadcaster, honestly, because I'm not gonna, you know, I've been away from the family a lot. I've been traveling a lot. I've missed a lot of things. I don't want to do that. Not for a while anymore. Once we get the kids out, Jenny might look at me and say, "Hey, you need to get a job, man. Let's get you out of the house." We'll see what happens, how that goes. But at the moment, what I'd like to do is be able to take my sweetie on a vacation every now and then. We'll go to some city, have some good dinner, call a baseball game or two, and then come back home. That sounds fun to me. I love talking about baseball. I love watching baseball, and especially at the big league level, it's just something that's it's just so good. The product is so good. The baseball players at that level are very, very talented. And it's just cool to watch. Sometimes pitchers do things and hitters do things that I just shake my head and go, wow, that's so fun that somebody can do that. And I love, you know, I love a lot of the things that I didn't used to love. I love some of the analytics, and I love some of the things that come behind that too. So I think there's a really unique possibility for me to go out and speak into the game a little bit differently than maybe some of the longtime broadcasters have. And it's always good to get that fresh blood in there and talk about things, you know, when you're just barely removed from it. So I look forward to kind of giving a different perspective.
How would you compare the nervousness level before a broadcast as opposed to a start?
I'm not a nervous person, because I don't now, back when I was like asking Jenny out on a date back in the day, way back in the day, that I used to get nervous about that. But as far as athletics go, I've never been a nervous person. You know, I grew up taking the last penalty kick. I was taking, you know, I wanted the big shot always. I always wanted to be on the mound in the big game. I always wanted to take the free throw to win the game. I always liked that situation. I always wanted to be in that situation. Never have been nervous about it. I was a field goal kicker. I love kicking those big pressure moment field goals. And yeah, I'm just comfortable in that situation. So I don't get nervous about either one, honestly.
Let me ask you about your faith. You seem to be a 1 Thessalonians 5:16 guy. Be joyous always, pray continually, and give thanks on all occasions. It seems like that's your day every day.
Well, this is a wonderful place we get to live. I'm looking out right now at a beautiful lake. I got the job that I've always wanted to have my entire life, playing professional baseball, Major League Baseball. You know, got a beautiful family. Been blessed with a lot. Why would I not be happy about those things? You know, but even in the moments where things are not going like I wanted to, like through some of those injuries, when I missed a couple of my prime seasons, you know, you can still find joy in that also. Just finding contentment in all things is something that my faith has really driven me towards. And you know, if you wake up feeling blessed and you see the blessing in all things, and you see the goodness in people and you see the goodness in the world, rather than looking at the bad and looking at trying to find the worst in people, then usually you find having yourself a pretty good day.
All right, before we let you go, these are some hit and run questions. You can't hedge on any of these. If your daughters were all 21 years old, which teammate would you allow them to go on a date with?
Yeah, all my teammates are single. That's a good question.
Yes.
My wife. I got a couple of answers. I got to give you one.
Oh, go ahead.
I mean, Tommy Edmonds, a guy who stuck out to me right away, just a salt of the earth, good dude. Dylan Carlson's a good guy, man. I really like Dylan a lot. He's got a good heart on him. Those are my two first answers. The other guys are good guys too, but would have to do some grilling first to find out what their intentions were.
What Cardinal would you want your son to play like if he decided to pursue baseball?
Harrison Bader. I
Along
think he
those
has
lines,
so much fun. He has so much fun in the game, but also if you watch his defensive play in the center field, everything is perfectly fundamentally sound, which I think is a very important thing about playing the game right.
and since your wife is right next to you, I'll ask this question. Maybe she can help out with the answer. Your wife, Jenny, finds what Cardinal kind of cute, and it kind of ticks you off?
I know that answer. She's like, don't answer that question. She thinks Jack Flaherty's cute, though. I know that.
All right. I can offer you a 2-homer game next season if there's not a DH, or a 2-hit shutout performance. What would you take?
2-homer game, no doubt about it. I mean, 2-homer game. I'm going to be pitching a pretty good game also, but I'm going to have a really good chance to win that game. The odds when a pitcher gets a hit in a game, the odds of that pitcher winning the game are like up 50% or something crazy like that. There's some weird stat. So if I get 2 home runs, I'm definitely going to win that game. And I got some shutouts anyways, but 2 homers in one game would be ultimate bragging rights.
What hitter has owned you over the years and it kind of ticks you off?
The guy that always owned me was a guy named Aramis Ramirez. And you'll remember Aramis well. I could never get away from him. He started in Pittsburgh. He went to Chicago, and then he went to the Brewers. And I could never escape him. In fact, he ended up hitting like 400 off me, or real close to 400. He only had 1 home run, but he had tons of doubles, and he would get like 3-0 curveball hits and all kinds of crazy stuff. But in fact, I could not get rid of him so much. I went to the Dominican Republic on a mission trip, and I went to an Escogido baseball game over there in the Dominican Winter League. And the first person I walked into in the stands was Aramis Ramirez. I was like, oh, get away from me. Gosh. So
what is the perfect date night for you and Jenny?
Perfect date night? Perfect date night for me is a really good dinner. Babysitters, obviously. Babysitters are the first part of that. A really good dinner with a really good movie behind it is a great date night for me. But what's your favorite date night? Yeah, and sometimes the best date night is takeout and a couch with some shows and maybe a baseball game or whatever on TV with, no craziness running around beside you. Sometimes we like just being still.
All right, word association. First thing that pops into your head when I say Tony La Russa.
Genius.
Mike Matheny.
Wise.
David Freese.
Clutch.
Yadi or Molina.
Tough.
Carlos Beltran.
Professional.
No baseball in this world, you would have done what?
Get that question a lot, but I'm thinking I'd be working at Chick-fil-A.
You can take any right arm in Major League Baseball. Whose arm would you take?
Jordan Hicks.
What if your family all voted for you to retire when you had that vote last year? What would have happened?
I'd be doing this interview instead of from the weight room. I'd be doing this interview at the golf course.
Biggest regret in your career?
I don't think I have any regrets, Cusy, honestly. I mean, I maybe not starting some recovery stuff like between starts earlier in my career. Maybe that would have been it.
Final thought. When you do walk off the mound for a final time, what would you want somebody to say about your career?
Oh, I was about to say it. I was hoping you were about to say, what would you want somebody to walk up to you and say? And I would say, I'll take that World Series trophy right now. That would be great. I think just that I was a great teammate and loyal friend and teammate. That's the best thing anybody could ever say about me.